Aaron the Brain, Schulte's tax evasion energy drink. Stay sharp, stay shady. You ever try running numbers for 3 crews, a crooked admiral, and half the Jersey Shore on no sleep? Don't bother, Aaron already figured it out. Powered by the Brain's tax evasion energy drink TM, the only fuel guaranteed to keep you awake while you misplace a couple zeros. Features: audit-proof formula, keeps you so wired, even the IRS falls asleep. Smart guy flavor, a mix of black coffee, burnt cigars, and just a hint of pencil eraser. Numbers boost, 1 sip, and suddenly you're writing off the boss's Bentley as office supplies. Nick Palermo. I drank it once, and next thing I knew, I had offshore accounts in Aruba. Mikey the Hammer. Don't get it, but hey, the can's solid enough to use as a weapon. Impeach, essential for selling submarines at wholesale prices. Special offer. Order a case today, and Aaron throws in a creative accounting notepad. Blank pages, no questions asked. Aaron the Brain Schulte's tax evasion energy drink. Outsmart the law, outlast the night.
Mugs, what the fuck you doing in there, you prick?
Bambi's Twisted Tales, Little Red Riding Hood, the Wolf in the Woods. They called her Red because the hood wasn't just a hood, it was a flag. Bright as a blood oath, stitched by her ma with old country thread, thick enough to stop a jealous eye, maybe even a knife if you held your breath and prayed hard enough. Red wore it like a badge, not cute, not precious, like colors on a crew. Morning came mean and gray, a sky the color of dishwater, and Ma had the basket ready. Bread hard as a knuckle, a bottle of red that could melt a cough, herbs that smelled like the saint's pockets. "Nonna's sick," Ma said, like the whole town didn't already know. "You run this out, you run it straight, and you don't open that pretty mouth for nobody between here and the old cabin." Red nodded like a good soldier. But the truth, she was the kind of kid who walked a line because she chose it, not 'cause somebody drew it for her. And if a line got wavy, she didn't panic. She danced. She cut through town where the morning crowd did its usual ballet, fishmonger cursing the scales, the baker dusted white like a ghost who'd found honest work, and a couple of loafers running their mouths about taxes, weather, and how nobody makes a sauce like their dead aunt. Red passed through all that noise with the basket tucked tight, like she was moving a hot envelope to a man who didn't like to be kept waiting. Then the woods took her. The path slipped under the trees, and everything civilized fell off like a bad alibi. The air got colder, damp, the kind of damp that doesn't touch your skin. It settles inside your bones and starts charging rent. Branches knit overhead, black fingers lacing, and the ground went soft, then softer, then, "Careful, kid. There's the hole some other fool didn't see." The woods here weren't geography, they were personality. Old, ornery, patient. Red didn't scare easy. She kept her rhythm. Heel, toe, the basket swinging like a silent metronome. She hummed a tune her nonna taught her, a lullaby that had seen better days. And the sound kept her from hearing what she was sure she wasn't hearing anyway. Footsteps that weren't hers, breath that didn't belong to her lungs, a silence that wasn't quiet so much as waiting. Then came the voice. "Nice day for a walk." He didn't jump out, didn't roar, didn't try any of that cartoon nonsense. He leaned, a study in casual, against a birch tree like the bark was upholstered. Long coat, sharp collar, a smile that showed a little enamel without committing to a full confession. His eyes were amber if you caught him right, and nobody catches eyes like that right without getting something wrong. Red kept moving. You can say a lot by not saying a lot. I'm on family business, she told the trail, not him. Family, he said, like the word had flavor. Best thing in the world. Keeps you warm. Keeps you honest. Where's the lucky relative? She felt the first tug, like a fish feels the hook, but calls it a twinge. Old woman, end of the lane. She shouldn't have said it, but the voice was warm as a bakery in winter and slick as a bar top. Her feet kept a pace, her mouth made a mistake. You ought to take the pines, he said, pointing into a green-black tangle where paths went to die. Shortcut. The path is the path, she said, and she made sure the words had walls. For some people, the grin widened. Never trust a grin that widens without permission. Keep safe, Redbird. She blinked and he was gone. Not gone like men get when they've got appointments. Gone like a sentence cut off in the middle 'cause the speaker choked on a lie. Red walked. The hood's edge brushed her cheek, a little scratch of thread like a reminder. You're not here to impress nobody. You're here to deliver. She kept the tempo, pretended she didn't notice how the trees had faces now, how the faces had disapproval, how the disapproval had teeth. Up ahead, a jay screamed the way only jays can, like it witnessed a murder and it's telling everyone but the cops. Red's gut turned. Not fear, exactly, just an accountant in her belly tallying up debits. One slick stranger, one bad suggestion, one quiet, too quiet to be polite. By the time she saw the chimney of Nonna's cabin, the day had become a bruise. Smoke lifted out of the stack, thin and lazy. Good sign. Smoke meant fire, meant life, meant... The door was ajar. Bad sign. Nonna? She pushed it with the back of her knuckles, just a tap, and the hinges answered with a whine that sounded rehearsed. The air inside had the wrong resume. Not bread, not eucalyptus, not old woman and soap. Iron, fur, damp wood. The hush you get after a chair falls but before somebody gets up. Come in, child, said a voice. It was Nonna's if Nonna had swallowed a handful of gravel and a smile she didn't earn. Red went in 2 steps. The bed creaked. A cap sat high on the pillow, shadow chewing the face beneath. The quilt was hauled up to the chin. The hands on top were big. Big like the hands of a man who strangled things for a living. She saw crescent moons of dirt under the nails. Nonna's nails never lied like that. She set the basket down without setting the basket down, quiet, easy, and moved a little to the left, where the light from the small window found what it could. The cap shifted. Eyes caught her, wide, shining, wet like a thing that belonged outdoors. You look tired, Nonna, Red said, and her voice was courteous, which is a cousin of dangerous if you say it right. Since when you get so tall? Bones stretch when the fever's high, said the voice, and the quilt tightened like it thought it was a good answer. Red's fingers found the table by the stove, felt around for the knife Ma always kept by the breadboard. She didn't pick it up. Not yet. The blade said its presence without speaking. She asked the old questions because folklore is a toolbox if you use it right. Your hands, she murmured, bigger than I remember. The cap twitched. To hold you closer. Your eyes. To see you better. Your teeth. The smile unrolled, slow, proud, and crowded. To eat you. He never finished the sentence because Red didn't need the end. She flipped the knife into her palm and the room ripped open. The quilt exploded with fur and claws, and the bed gave a final complaint before collapsing into firewood. He came at her low and fast, not like a man, not like a beast, like a habit. The kind of habit a church can't fix and a judge can't sentence because it was born before both. He clipped her forearm, hot lightning under skin, and the hood took a new shade. She moved wrong, then right. He grinned wider. The grin cost him. She slashed, a pretty line, practical, across the chest, where a shirt pretended to be a gown. He hissed, surprised, not that she fought, but that she knew where to draw. He drove her backwards into the corner by the stove. Heat licked her calves. She fed him the blade again, upward, cruel. It took his jaw hard enough to bounce his head. He laughed, a spray of red wit, and pressed, heavier. Predators love gravity. It does half their work. Not prey, she told him, and the voice that left her mouth belonged to a woman who had buried things. She yanked him closer by the collar and put the knife where truth lives, up under the angle of the chin, through sinew and wishful thinking, into the part of the skull that cancels plans. The sound was private. The stillness after wasn't. He twitched. Old reflex, the kind you can't take off even if you die in it. And then he was meat and math on the floor. Weight plus floorboards equals lesson. Red breathed. The room tasted like a penny. She wiped the knife once, twice, didn't bother a third time. She followed the dark drag into the pantry and found Nonna where dignity ends and rage begins. She shut her eyes because the living deserve that, and did what needed doing with a sheet and a whispered apology that couldn't fix anything but didn't hurt either. Outside, clouds broke. The light that got through wasn't friendly, but it was honest. She dug with the old spade until the ground forgave her effort. She laid Nonna down to the kind of rest that makes the birds quiet, then filled the hole the way you fill a secret. Fast, smooth, no air pockets for the past to whistle through. Back inside, she left the door open. Let the neighbors, the wind, the next roomer, let them all look. The wolf stayed where he fell. That was policy now. Warnings should be legible. On the table, the bottle of wine waited like a gentleman. Red uncorked it with her teeth, tipped some for Nonna. Grazie, old girl. Then took what was left and felt the burn draw lines in her chest, where panic had scribbled earlier. She cleaned the knife for real this time, wrapped it in a square of cloth, slid it into the basket like a friend hitching a ride. Brooklyn Bloodlines, Gioviani Goku D'Angelo. Before the Palermos, before the wolves and the devils crawled in from Philly and Kansas City, Brooklyn already had a name that made the streets go quiet. Gioviani D'Angelo. They call him Goku. Born in the old neighborhood, he came up when loyalty was law, and betrayal was a death sentence. He wasn't the biggest, he wasn't the loudest, but he was the smartest. Calm where others shouted, patient where others lunged. Goku built his empire not with rage, but with discipline. Every move calculated, every word weighed. He was Frankie Palermo's closest ally. The two of them ran Brooklyn like kings, Frankie the fire, Goku the ice. And when Frankie was clipped outside that candy store, Goku didn't just lose a friend, he inherited a promise. He swore on that sidewalk that he'd watch over Frankie's kids. Nick, Bambi, Emily. He raised them like blood, gave him a seat at his table, kept the Palermo name alive through the storm. Flashback. The early 90s. A 16-year-old Nick Palermo, hot-headed, fists ready to fly. Goku sits him down in the back of La Tavola Nera, pours him a glass of wine, and says, "If you can't control yourself, you'll never control this city. Loyalty first, patience second, everything else comes after." Nick never forgot it. Flashback, young Bambi, still reeling from her father's death. Goku puts a heavy hand on her shoulder, looks her dead in the eye. "You're Frankie's daughter. That means something. Don't ever let him see you bend." She didn't. Now, Goku's older, slower maybe, but sharper than ever. The streets are getting crowded. Anthony Sessa prowling. Christians in telly smiling his devil's smile. Rizzo buying influence with blood money. And the Bureau, they're circling too. Goku's empire is a fortress, but even fortresses crack when the enemies come from inside and out. Still, when Goku walks into a room, men stand. His voice don't rise above a whisper, but it silences the noise. He don't need to prove who he is. Brooklyn already knows. Giovanni, Goku D'Angelo, ain't motivated by greed. He's motivated by legacy, by Frankie Palermo's ghost, by the vow he made to protect the bloodline. He's the calm in the storm, the godfather who holds the pieces together while the wolves and devils tear at the gates. And in Season 2, when the streets burn and the families fracture, Brooklyn's gonna remember who the real boss is. Brooklyn Bloodlines, Season 2, coming soon. The walk back ran quiet. The woods did that thing they do after violence, pretend they're a library. She felt eyes again, but the eyes felt different. Not hungry. Respectful, maybe. It's a funny word out here, respect. You pay for it with a currency nobody likes spending. Town saw her from a distance. The red, the stance, the kind of expression that lets people know conversation would be a poor investment. Whispers moved faster than feet. By the time she reached the square, the baker had already told the butcher, who'd told the smith, who told the man who tells everybody everything like it's his religion. "What happened?" Ma asked, and that was all. Not, "Are you okay?" Not, "Where's the basket?" Mothers don't ask questions they already can't survive the answers to. Red told it clean. No embroidery, no heroics. There was a wolf. He's not a wolf anymore. Ma looked at her arm, at the length of red drying black, at the bottle now empty, at the way her daughter had come back a half-inch taller without gaining any height. She nodded once, like when a judge bangs a gavel, and the room finally knows what the law is. She put a kiss where the hood met Red's brow and went to boil water. That's love in some neighborhoods. A pot on the stove and no more words than you need. Night came, and with it the chorus of the foolish. Men in the tavern who swear they'd have done it faster, cleaner, louder. Women who nod and remember knives they didn't have when they needed 'em. Old men who say, "In my day," like days obey anyone. Red let them talk. She slept the sleep of the prosecuted and the acquitted at once. In the weeks that followed, the woods behaved. Not because they were scared. Woods don't get scared. They get even. But because news travels, even where roots choke it. Hunters noticed less missing chickens. Shepherds counted more sheep at sundown. A kind of truce signed itself without pen or handshake. People tried to make Red into something. A story needs a shape or it leaks. Some called her blessed, some called her cursed. One drunk called her a liar and woke up missing 2 teeth and the ability to maintain eye contact. Red ignored categories. She visited Nonna's grave on Sundays, touched the fresh stone like it might say something back, and kept the hood not because it was famous now, but because it was hers. As for the thing on the cabin floor, it stopped being a him once he hit the boards and became an it, which is accurate if unromantic. The crows came first, then foxes, then whatever else signs contracts with the dark. The bones kept their arrangement longer than you'd think. Kids dared each other to peek. A couple of men went to handle it, but when they got there, they handled nothing and came home with new manners. The door sagged. The wind told its own version. One evening, a stranger rode in, real city type, polished boots and a notebook big enough to be a shield. He asked the baker, asked the smith, asked the man who knows everything. Then he asked Red, which is a thing only somebody who doesn't understand distance would do. "Is it true?" he said, pen eager. "You alone? No huntsman to save you?" Red poured him coffee that tasted like a wake. "It's true that the wolf is dead," she said, "and it's true I'm not." He wanted adjectives. She gave him nouns. He wanted a prince. She gave him a grave. He wanted to buy the hood for a museum. She told him it wasn't for sale at any price the living could afford. He went away with his notebook fat and his understanding thin. Years passed different after blood. The woods stayed woods. The town found new things to gossip over: taxes, weather, whose cousin ran off with whose wife. Time, the great laundress, washed Red's story until the stains looked like designs. But the women knew. You could tell by the way they walked, keys between their fingers, knives in their drawers, and a certain set to the jaw that says, "I'll apologize later if I must. First I'll survive." If you're waiting for a huntsman to show up in this tale, don't. He had his chance in all the other versions, and he did what men with axes do: arrive late and pose with the problem after somebody else solved it. This story belongs to the girl who kept walking when every smart voice told her to stop, to the woman who decided a knife is a prayer you answer yourself. When people asked her what she learned, Red shrugged like the question came with a stupid hat. But if you cornered her, maybe near Nonna's grave where truth likes to sit, she'd give you this much. Predators wear masks. Some are fur, some are charm, some are uniforms with shiny buttons and a clause in small print that says you won't be believed. They'll offer shortcuts, compliments, a hand on your shoulder that weighs too much. Your job is not to be polite to danger. Your job is to make it regret knowing your name. The hood, she kept it. Not because it made her a legend, but because legends are just receipts stapled to a life. The real protection wasn't cloth. It was choosing the path, hearing the lie, keeping the knife, and not waiting for a cavalry that was never on its way. And yeah, the woods still whisper, but now they whisper different. They say, "Walk careful, walk ready." And if they mention her, they lower their voice out of respect. Because in this valley they don't tell Little Red no more. They tell Red, the wolf slayer, the girl who buried her own dead and left the monster where the flies could read the message. The one who proved a hood can be a banner and a warning, a color you wear so the dark knows it's not the only thing that gets to be loud. Moral: don't wait for a hero who ain't comin'. Sweet talk is a casing run. A shortcut is a setup. A grin with too many teeth is a bill you can't afford. Keep your path, keep your blade, and keep your head, literally and otherwise. Fear can keep you alive, but only if it bows to courage when the door swings and the teeth flash. If you want more fairy tales told the way the streets would tell 'em, raw, bloody, no sugar, all truth, then you roll with Bambi and the pizza-verse. We rip masks off wolves, roast the phonies, and serve the stories hot. Hit subscribe, smack that bell, and remember, kid, in the pizza-verse we don't miss.